Good evening. Welcome back. Question time. So I enjoyed that one the other day, to be fair. So I thought we'd give it a shot back on the usual slot. Still making no promises, but let's see how it goes anyway. And busy, absolute madness. Obviously got the big Secret Sankey event at the weekend. Really looking forward to it. Everything's coming together really well. The fish, I mean, yeah, Monday, I think it was the day we netted the pond up. Absolutely phenomenal to see what come up out of that pond and the results that we got. So absolutely delighted with that and can't wait to share those with everybody. Oh, what's that there from Jason? Koi Wednesday, yes. So yeah, obviously following on from me, we've got the lads on the Koi Talk Live over on the Koi Talk channel. So yeah, a couple of busy hours this evening, to say the least. And yeah, so bits and bobs doing. I mean, manic week, I'll say, as well as the event. It's a very busy time here on the farm. We've got 2 massive days of shipping fish out to people. I think we've got just over 80 boxes going out with our delivery services. And yeah, more collections. So by the time we're done it next couple of days, there'll be about 90 boxes plus of fish packed. I think somewhere between or somewhere close to about 2,000 fish leaving. Bonkers. On a very busy day. First van's got to be loaded by 7 a.m. tomorrow. Crackers, but there we go. For the love of koi, I'm not complaining, that's for sure. And yeah, another little update for you guys. The Taniguchi Grow Out event. So we're a little bit behind schedule on that one because we've been waiting for me to get my ass to Japan, really. So got a bit of a window come up in my schedule, and I'm going to be heading out there on next week. Not quite even booked it all yet, but yeah, heading out there next week, and yeah, going to get straight down to Taniguchi, get all those fish gone through, sorted out, and yeah, we'll be arranging the shipment as well for anything that's coming back or people who want to bring them back. Obviously, those that can stay on as well. So yeah, stay tuned for some more updates on that one. And then yeah, last one to share with you, share it now and towards the end as well. But we've got a grow and show event we're doing in cooperation with Sunnybank Koi. So you can get tickets and information over on their website. But this is with some very classy Sakai Tosai that I obtained earlier this year. Done a really special selection out for them, and yeah, they really were quite spectacular. I think it's £150 a go. There was 80 tickets available. I think they've sold over 50 now already, and that's going to be hosted at their premises on, I want to say, June the 11th. Well, that many dates floating around in my head. Bear with me, folks. Let me double check. Yes, June the 11th over at their premises. I'll be there on the day helping to select out the fish for anyone who needs be and meet people who's attending. If you can't attend, you want to buy a ticket and you'll still have a slot. The fish are done by lucky draw. There's actually 100 fish entered altogether, but only 80 been released. So there's a nice buffer capacity if they do sell out anybody towards the end of it. And yeah, you can have a time slot. So your number will still go in the draw. If it comes out and you're not there, you can either leave a short list of fish I can select for you, or we could possibly arrange a video call or something to go through some options. So plenty there. No excuses not to take part. We'll make sure we cover every base. And yeah, I'll just show you now the video of the fish. Wife's watching. Evening, darling. I've actually just been at home, so I went and picked the kids up, but shot back to work. Still got some prep to finish. Yeah, bear with me. Let me find out the video for you. So yeah, 2 lots. This is the first bowl of 50 fish. See, the quality of these is really insane. Stunning. You can find the full video over on our YouTube channel as well, by the way. Then the second bowl of 50. Yeah, full video, full details are on our YouTube channel, so you can tune into that one. But these are not to be missed. Value for money wise, for £150, Sakai Tosai, this kind of size and quality level will not get touched anywhere else in the market. In fact, I think in the whole of Europe, would struggle to get close to this, to be honest. So well worth taking part. And yeah, there's some prizes available. Let's say all the details are on. You take the fish away, grow them in your pond. You re-enter back into the competition with some pictures entered back in, and then I'll be doing some judging later in the year to see where you've got to. So fingers crossed, if it's something you want to do, take part in, see where we get to. But yeah, other than that, it is question time. We've got obviously a backlog of questions and stuff to work through, but feel free to fire any questions into the comments that you'd like me to have a run through, and I will do. Yeah, other than that, I don't think there's anything else to catch up on, to be honest with you. Just bear with me a minute, folks. I'll pull the first list of questions up. But yeah, like I say, feel free to fire anything into the comments. Let us know what you think about the double session as well on a Wednesday with a question time and a Koi Talk Live, and see if it's something we'll continue with. Right, just let me just find the right folder. Oh, here we go. That's an interesting one. That's kind of in a zone I'm in at the minute. When trying to feed koi their maximum, do you work it out per percentage of body weight or just by eye? If it's a percentage, is that pellet only, or would you incorporate pearl barley, mussels, etc.? Yeah, so typically by eye and time windows. I have discussed this a few times. So typically I'm looking, I'll set the pond knowing on what the pond can handle and where the fish are at, and how they feed as well. Because big fish, I had this last year, you know, the Nisita Sanzai I was raising, those type of fish are much more elegant, slow feeders. And the usual kind of 10-minute window I aim for, they just weren't getting close, you know. So I ended up stretching that out to basically nearly an hour, but then spreading the gap in between the feeds as well to compensate for it. And what I do, but typically with the toe side at the minute, I'm aiming for like a 10-minute window. Then I assess it. It's also based on how they're looking, kind of body wise, and how the pond's performing. But I use that 10-minute window to basically gauge gauge the feed level. So once I've got the feeding right, and the feeding taking 10 minutes to feed, obviously when they grow, their appetite increases with it. And from there, you know, all of a sudden I'll watch that feed at a particular time of day, and you will then see that drop to 8 minutes, for example, and increase the feed to try and bring it back to 10, and follow that same thing throughout the whole season, just monitoring what's going on in the pond, how that's looking, then how the body's looking. Obviously, if at any point they look a bit too fat or they're struggling, I'm going to ease off. Or possibly if they're not looking bodied up enough, I might increase it to a 15-minute feed. Just doing it that way. But yeah, this year, gone back a couple of ponds, we're going with the percentage of body weight. And again, percentage you're going to feed is going to depend on the age of the fish and everything that's going on. Toe side, we're probably looking anywhere from 3 to 5% for growth, especially. And then, yeah, bigger fish, it's going to be hard to get up there with them higher percentages because of the sheer amount of food it'll take to do it. But just going to see, you know, what regime we can put together there and how that kind of compares and differs to the method that I'm usually using, to be honest. But yeah, would you feed? So I would do it with pellet food, and then I would incorporate your treats, your pearl barley, mussels, etc., as an addition. But obviously, just factor in that might impact their feeding. You know, I don't really like to defer away from what I'm doing, especially when they're on the feeders, because it can impact the food. If you're doing something frequently, you know, kind of roughly, you know, every evening you like to go out and hand feed roughly the same amount, and that's great because you'll build that consistency to help gauge where you're actually at with the food to adjust the feeders where near be, to be honest. So yeah, feeding is always a great one. I do firmly believe it's more and more education needed, because in raising koi especially, I don't think anybody probably feeds where they should be. And in general, you know, I think a lot of fish are possibly underfed, sorry. So yeah, it's a fine line with it. There's a lot of variables, but we'll keep banging that drum, because I think it's a really important topic in koi raising especially. So yeah, good. It's a good question, that one. Right, let me get that one off the screen. I'll jump into some of tonight's stuff. Right. Drabba's Koi, I have a Nisai Goshki from Aoki, but the Benny plates seem to be slowly dissipating, i.e. darker scales coming through, breaking up Benny, unheated pond. Any ideas, please? No, it might just be the nature of the beast. Unfortunately, I mean, a bit more information. How old is it? How long have you had it? Even seeing the fish can be helpful, to be honest. But yeah, generally, that type of intense Benny, you've got to get it right. It could just be that it's the colour disappearing with that one. Unfortunately, there's not a lot you can do if it is dissipating. It's unheated pond as well, so it's not red hot. You're not really forcing it or pushing it, I'm guessing. So in that case, darker scales coming through, i.e. sumi, again, that's the nature of the beast. Aoki Goshki are a bit more prone to that because they are the strong kuro style of Goshki. Therefore, it really does. There's a lot of sumi in that skin, and it will most of the time try and force its way through that Benny, especially over here in the UK. So, yeah, depending on what part's happening there, if it is just sumi coming through, you're not going to stop that process. But likewise, if the Benny is fading off, it could be that it's disappearing. It's really important to select that Benny right when they're younger. And remember as well, this is not a Goshki lineage that's renowned for growing as well. So as they get bigger, this can tend to happen again, depending on what kind of size it's at. So yeah, sorry to hear it. I don't think I've really got any good news for you there, but it is the nature of the beast. I have it all the time, especially raising batches of toe side through to this side. I've got it in the Sakai pond at the minute, with the intense heat now. It's a few the Kohaku going Shiro Mujis and the Sankey going Beko. Despite them having looked promising, it is, especially with toe side, it really is the nature of what's happening. Right, just bear with me. Quite an interesting one. How do breeders choose their male and female parents? That will be very specific to every breeder, what they're looking for. That's what makes their offspring unique. They often have a vision in their head, and that'll be the basis of selecting the parent fish and where they potentially want to get to from that. So, yeah, body's obviously a massive one straight away. I mean, it's just a huge part of the Japanese industry. Body. That's where they're at. So that underpins everything from that point. And then they'll have an idea of the lineage behind it as well, which can play an important part in it. Again, then depending on the variety, what varieties they might mix together in doing it. There's so many different variables there. I do know, and literally from doing some interviews years back, I asked the same question to a number of breeders and all gave different answers. Some are looking for the male fish to possess the qualities where the female might have a weakness. Others are just happy to take, one unique characteristic in a male and throw it in. Others, Ikarashi Kazuto, that was interesting. He liked to use really old, bigger, mature male fish because he believed that was back then such a unique thing to find that kind of quality would then pass through and create longevity in his lineage, which completely was the case because that's what his fish were like. But from that, he naturally knew he was going to get a lower fertilization rate, so less offspring. Yeah, loads and loads of variables. Obviously, then depending, there could be, a breeder looking to raise jumbo. Size of parents is going to be a massive consideration and factor. So many bits, but I can assure you one thing they'll all be looking at is that body and obviously skin quality, especially. Pattern will play an impact, but that's not the be all and end all. It's not the most important part. Those two, particularly, the strongest criteria, they're going to be paying attention to. Sandy, my source KH is 4 drops API test kit. I struggle to keep it higher than 6 drops. I noticed when I add bicarbonate, the fish flash. Is this a constant, or does raising KH cause that sometimes? Also, is it too risky to keep the pond at 4? Should I keep adding bicarb? Sandy, no, to be honest with you, 4 is a perfectly acceptable level if it's stable. And by adding the bicarb, to be honest, what you might be doing is causing fluctuations and variations in your pH, which will more than likely cause the flashing. So, yeah, in all honesty, I would probably just keep it at 4 and maintain it stable. If you're testing it regularly, as soon as you get a drop off at 3, then buffer it at that point. So you'll be buffering a lot less frequently. You're going to struggle to keep it up there and maintain it at 6 when it's lower than your source water's at. So, yeah, don't worry about it too much. Me with KH, you know, at two is my rock bottom. I don't like it being sat there when it goes below. It would be the rock bottom. When it goes below it, it's big trouble. But yeah, other than that, you know, 3, 4, something like that. If you're maintaining it and it's stable, this is the big thing with a lot of water parameters. Stability will win over, you know, an ideal kind of parameter, if you like. So a KH at 4 with, you know, with stability is going to be better than trying to keep buffering up to 6 and causing instability in doing that. So hope that's helpful for you. Douglas, evening, buddy. Should I be adding any growth to my sake balance? Douglas, all depends on your water temperature, to be honest. If you are, unless you're specifically aiming for you know, body conditioning and serious bulking, I wouldn't be using sake growth any lower than 20 degrees C and stable at that as well, and slowly introduce it so your system can build up. So yeah, if you're there at that point, you know, when it's warm, I want to be using a growth food. They've got the completely different mix, higher fat content. The mix and the sort of ratios of protein, carbs, and fats is completely different, and you're going to get the real bulk on them in that warmer water. So yeah, absolutely, but just pending the temperatures. Jason, good evening. Do you use a mix of floating and sinking due to your stocking levels? You stick with floating? I always stick with floating. I have a big thing with the feeders. The ponds are not designed, you know, bottom drain type ponds are not designed to really take sinking food. I've mentioned this before. A lot of the breeders that use sinking, a Momentero, you know, when they're using it, for example, in indoor ponds, they've actually got feeding platforms built in to the pond, because monitoring feeding is very, very important. When you've got a bottom drain, you're firing sinking food in, and I have seen this, literally watched it. The speed at which it moves towards the bottom drain is phenomenal. And this is quite in one of my long ponds, you know, 20-foot long, bottom drain in the middle, feeder at one end. The speed at which that food works its way to the drain is crazy. And yeah, it's just, for me, sinking food, unless you're really monitoring, feeding it manually and really monitoring every seed, I think it's too risky to feed at scale. So yeah, I just stick with floating because it is much easier for everybody to monitor, and I would say the same for you guys as well. Rory, good evening. Will a peck fin that's split all the way down to the front ray grow back? Yes, it will, but that's going to take some time, Rory. Warmer water will help it recover faster. Sometimes it might be worth attempting to glue it. And then other times it might be worth, you know, sometimes they've been stitched together as well just to help it. But yeah, they will naturally grow back. But yeah, they're really tricky, because you've got to get, it's a fine layer of skin that starts growing in between it. And especially as it gets warmer, which helps it grow faster, their activity levels are better. They feed more aggressively and have a habit of opening it back up. So yeah, really tough one, that. But yes, they can. But it can be difficult and really take a lot of time unaided. So see how you get on with that one. Right, just bear with me. Hi, Ricky. Evening, Paul. Asking for folk on koi fen. Is there a name for a non-metallic yellow and white koi? A non-metallic hierarchy like? Oh yeah. Well, if I got this right, so non-metallic yellow and white. Yeah, we've got a variety called Kijiro, which they've had Wagoi types of it, but mainly Deutz. But yellow and white, as in like a yellow and white Kohaku, no, I don't know of anyone. Let's say there's been a few of those come from Kijiro spawnings, which was a new variety created by the prefectural office actually in Japan, and the parent fish passed around. But no, there's nothing like that as I know of in production, other than if it was just a really shit Kohaku and someone's trying to palm it off, possibly. But yeah, no. So I would hit Kijiro with that one if I was looking at it, and yeah, it'd be the Wagoi type. And like I say, but primarily they are Deutz. So that would be my argument to that one, buddy. Martin Stammers, Harry, what's the parent set blood for Agromo, I presume? Yes, they are very nice, Agromo. So yeah, it really depends on. To be honest with you, I'm not completely clued up on the history of a lot of the Agromo lineages. A lot of the breeders, because there's very few of them. Sakazumi makes some nice ones. The main man for Agromo is Izumia, no doubt, and that guy's got some lineages that are seriously, seriously old. I mean, that farm is stooped in the foundations of Nishikigoi, and yeah, some serious old lineages, but in regards to quality, size, growth, body, everything, Izumia is right up there. But I mean, God, I've probably only had them a couple of times in all the years I've been doing it. They're a tough variety to sell as well. And the percentage of ones that actually look like the one you would want swimming around in your pond is so few. So you can quite imagine the value of such fish when they come around. So yeah, and when they're sort of toe-side as well, they look pretty dreadful most of the time. So it tend to stay well clear because they're just not super popular. Say if we had a pond of all Japan standard ones, they'd fly out the door, but getting them's mighty hard work, mate. But yeah, that's probably something I should dig into, the history of them lineages. But let's say you got him, Sakazumi, Marushi makes a nice Goromo, although Igoromo are a bit more lacking over at his place. We've got Takigawa down in Hiroshima, done some nice Goromo as well, but say it's just not actually a variety I've paid too much attention into the real history and specifics of, to be fair. So there you go, Martin. New challenge for me there, mate. I'm sure I'll get clued up. Right, let's have a little bit of a longer one here from Sam. My nitrite or sky high, I water change to reduce, hardly feed the fish, and it just keeps going up and up. I don't get any ammonia at all, just nitrite. I have about 5 nitrate, so some is converting, but I'm just at a loss with it all now. Pond is 40,000 litres, I'm going to guess there. A was a drum filter, moving bed, 500 litre media, Evolution Aqua, K1 Plus. A micro K1, my God, a backy shower, 6 tier, 1 meter long, 4 tiers running, a month, 2 chambers. Wow. 3 20,000 litre an hour pumps, all coming from the chamber. One goes to a shower, which I can't even get it. We've not even got it all there. Wow, Sam. I feel like there's just too much there to digest, buddy. Is one I'd be curious to probably help you with. More, I mean, if you want to give us some more specifics on where you're at, is the pond 40,000 litres? Yeah, a bit more time. I need to sit and do some, get some figures written down and bits and bobs like that. But how many fish have you got in there for one? Obviously, really important. Yeah, a little bit more. If you fire a bit more information through, it might also be worth dropping an email into info@koi-wholesale.co.uk. And I could probably help you pick that one apart a little bit. But I feel like there would be a lot of value there for sure. Might even save it for the next question time if you get me some more information, and I can get all the details together and advise you a bit better from there. Because, yeah, I mean, all I'm seeing there straight away is like, holy shit, you seem to have everything on there, which is possibly really ringing a few alarm bells, because I'm guessing you're not going to tell me you've got a couple of thousand fish swimming around in there and feeding a couple of kilos a day. So yeah, please fire me some more info over, whether you drop it in here a bit further down or ping me an email, and yeah, we'll look at addressing that and coming back for everyone at some point, because sounds an interesting case. Right, just bear with me. Apologies for already asked, but can colour enhancers actually spoil the sumi of toe-side fish? 50-50 mix between colour and growth. No, colour enhancers are not linked to sumi whatsoever. Colour enhancers are for the beni. They can tint the shiroji, the white skin, which can be corrected after. But yeah, not going to affect sumi in any way. That's more water temperature and actually the water makeup that will affect sumi for sure. Ray Sharman, are you feeding? I have only ever fed floating. Do you think it's a good idea for hobbyists to use some sinking to cater for the fish that tend to be a little skittish at the surface, hand feeding only? Yeah, no, I've said this before, that sinking for me, it's all right if you're feeding it manually. I think that's going to be my stance on that one. If you're observing a lot of the feeds, if you're using a feeder, you're never going to know what percentage of that's going down the drain, and that concerns me, because, as I say, I've seen how quickly it happens. It can be useful to feed some sinking, like you say, if they're more skittish fish. But what you'll also tend to find, I found this, those dominant feeders will always find the food first. Doesn't matter what they do, whether it's at the surface, down below, they will find that food, and they will still be dominant, whether it's floating or sinking. You'll never change that. So yeah, if you want to hand feed a bit of sinking, go for it. But, really just stick with the floating. Those fish, the little ones, will find their way eventually. If anything, if you're feeding floating, just try feeding in a couple of different areas on the pond, so some of them can stay away completely. Steve there, what kind of glue? I'm lost on that one, buddy. Don't know if I've missed something there, but feel free to fill me in. Sam's fired a load of stuff in there, so we can probably slowly unravel this one. 40,000 litres, yes. 27 fish. Sam, what kind of size are the 27 fish? Only feeding a max of 30 gram of food per day. Wow, that's not a lot at all. Fish generally all healthy. Only ever seem to salt when it gets really high and then start to sit on the bottom, etc. Size range from 25 to 45. Yeah, so a lot to work out with that one still, as I say, but that to me sounds like you need to just go through the threshold. The last one I want to ask you, Sam, just while we're on, is how old is the pond? So yeah, when was it initially set up and fired up running? Because that's going to be an important factor in all this one, buddy, before I go any further into that one. Oh, peck fins, yeah. You try it with super glue. My only issue is when I've tried with fin gluing in the past, the issue is you've got to be very careful not to ruin the shape of the fin. It's a really, really tricky one. Sometimes it can be better just to put a little kind of stitch through, just to hold the fin kind of in place and together a little bit more, so not as much skin's got to regrow in between, because even when left to grow naturally, the thing can open up and be disfigured in its shape compared to what it was before, to be honest. Right, so we've got, was installed a year ago, been running since June last year. Right, so you've had obviously it's had a bit of time to seed up during the summer of last year, but not long before you've sort of gone into winter. Now you're heated, Sam, as well, before you've gone into winter. So if unheated, you're going to have gone pretty dormant pretty quickly there, to be honest with you. So you're going to have almost kind of paused the development process. I think from June last year, you should have had enough time to get back into the ammonia cycle. So got the ammonia cleared off and done. And then, yeah, but nitrite's a different beast there. So possibly just moved into winter, gone a little bit dormant, and now you're just picking it up again in spring. So makes sense to not have any ammonia. But yeah, I think, to be honest with you, it'd be worth salting up whenever you're having nitrite problems. Salt is that thing there that you can factor in, just to know that you're helping prevent the cause, the effects of nitrite in brown blood disease from really getting to the fish. But I think, to be honest with you, perseverance, you've got a lot of kit. Once you've sent me an email, probably one of the things I'm going to look at is your flow rates potentially over what you've got. But yeah, I've just generally looking at it, depending on water temperatures, things like that. One positive thing I'm going to say is you need to be feeding more, actually feeding that system and push through the pain threshold a little bit, in all honesty. So yeah, can't wait to get your full details off you, Sam, and we'll probably chat a bit. And then I'd probably like to, like I say, come back and use this at another point to run through what advice I've got for you. Even better if you fancy coming on and running through it, be even more fluid, and can hopefully try and get to the bottom of it for you with that one. Rory, why would a breeder use non-jumbo parents to breed with, and can jumbo parents produce small koi? Is it all in the sorting process? Yeah, absolutely. Just because they've got jumbo parents, it does not guarantee that the offspring will have jumbo genetics, because the fish themselves have the limiting factors. You know, if they've not got the structure to physically grow jumbo, then they're not going to do it. A breeder would use non-jumbo depending on the variety that he's trying to produce. You know, do not forget some varieties like Aoki's been mentioned tonight. That guy, his main purpose, he's trying to produce some really tricky varieties that are super, super hard to establish, especially the quality at which he's looking to do it. So as a result of that, he's just got to get that achieved. He can't be focusing on then trying to get size as well. Maybe something that comes after, but initially he's got to establish the variety. So yeah, really, really depends. You know, if you're trying to make Pearl Ginrin, for example, you know, you're not going to focus there on size because you know that's adding in a crazy dimension. Deutsch-Go Sankey is another one. Yes, they're going to want to use big parents, but a bigger thing with Deutsch-Go Sankey is getting a parent set that's going to produce a high yield of fish that are actually good and not deformed, and get some longevity and quality in there. And while we're on that one, you know, Deutsch Showa, for example, you know, the Japanese have prided themselves on having Deutsch-Go Sankey that are absolutely clear of any scales other than the ones down the dorsal line. Now, the thing there with that is that we need it's a lot of breeding to get to that point, and you're going to lose size at that point. So Miyatora, a more recent Showa lineage for Deutsch Showa, he has got a really powerful body and some cracking size coming to him, but he hasn't managed to eliminate all them Deutsch scales. So you tend to get a lot running down the lateral line, which is not a desirable thing in sort of show standard Japanese fish. So yeah, interesting points to consider. And yeah, that's that one really. Right, just bear with me 1 second. See what we've got for you. Just bear with me, folks. My nan's just turned up.
Hello, Ricky. Hello,
Yeah,
Rick.
distracting me.
It's your nan.
Brilliant.
I'll leave you to it, love. Leave you to it.
Right, let me just gather my thoughts again there. Dear. See where we've got. Craig, right, pre-show, how would you suggest feeding, i.e. adding colour food, etc.? How often should you feed colour food? Should it be fed mixed with the standard food running up to a show sort of a month or two before? Right, so this is not something, this is again one of the things I mentioned. Conditioning for a show is a process that needs to be started 12 months in advance. You've really got to get your head around where you need to be, what you need to achieve with those fish. What times you're going to hit it at, loads and loads and loads of different bits. Do you need to condition up the body? Do you need to add body mass? Do you need to, you know, do you need to lose body mass off the fish? So many different bits. Colour food. So if you're using normal mixes of colour food, it's going to take a lot longer than a month to have the kind of profound impact. If you need impact in a month, you're going to be looking at the tools such as Saki Akari Deep Red. That's super intensive and can do a lot in a short time span, just like Saki Pure White as well. I've been trialing that again recently and been blown away with it, by the way. Really, really phenomenal. Really does deliver on what it says it's going to do. But I noticed a huge change in 3 weeks, and I would have said within a month to 6 weeks would have had an absolutely profound impact on the fish. So you've got to factor that in, because using a strong colour enhancer is likely going to tint the Shiroji, and then you've got to rebalance that out as well. So if you've got a longer time period and you're building mass, you also need to be building colour at the same time, because if you're warm and you're building body, that's going to affect Benny. You need to keep that going along at the same kind of speed. So you're going to need to use colour feed along the way, and then you just need that finishing touch. You can move into something a bit stronger. It's really each their own with this, but there's no kind of magic thing you can be doing, Craig, in truth, like 4 weeks before a show, bish bash bosh. It's just not gonna happen at all. It's really got to be on a build up. Development of colour should be happening all of the time, especially in the main summer season right now. You need to be developing that colour. And then taking your foot off the gas a little bit in the winter season. But again, if you've got a show in between, you've got to kind of balance and tip everything around that, especially where the shows are scheduled in the UK, right in the middle of growing seasons, really. You've really got to get your head around what you're doing and where you're at there. So, yeah, can't really answer that one too much in depth, Craig, other than what I've shared with you there, because it's going to be really unique to where those particular fish are at and what you need to achieve with them. But yeah, like I say, there's our tools such as deep red and pure white that can have a big impact in a short time frame. And yeah, you know, kind of like a month, I think you will notice a difference with either. But even just straight there, really, is 2 months needed to hit the Benny, then pull the white skin back round. So like you can see, there's no quick fix to any of that. John Gordon, is it true you can feed colour food sake in cold temperatures? No, it is not. Sake needs warm water, 18 degrees minimum, really. It's more like with the growth, 18 to 20 you want to be at before you really start hitting them with that. Not sure where that's been said, but it's a load of rubbish. And yeah, they need that temperature to help and aid with digestion. What's the best cure for sunburn? Oh, crikey. I think for you, Joe, it's a full black suit, head to toe, mate, to be honest. Crikey. Yeah, Joe's first experience of the Koi Wholesale fish house is when it's been hot. And yeah, poor lad's not doing too well with it. So I'll be interested in how that one pans out over the summer. Hi Ricky, my koi seem more interested in pulling the black algae off the bottom of the pond and size than the food I put in. Is this normal? Pond is only 4 months old, 600 gallon 8 koi. Yeah, it can be. You know, they're not just pulling it off the side, they're pulling it off and they're eating it. So they're getting a fill there. Only 8 koi, you know, they might be getting all they need off of the walls, quite possibly. Or it might just be worth reducing the amount of food down you're putting in while they are eating that. So it can be perfectly normal. Even, you know, I see the koi grazing a lot. Often I use that as a gauge. Can be both ways, actually telling you that the fish are hungry and they're eating and grazing on the walls more because they're not getting as much from the pellet food that they want. And it can almost become habit for them. What you might find is if just 8 koi, they might actually be a little bit skittish and not actually confident feeding at the surface. And that might be why they're happier feeding off the walls than coming up to the surface. So yeah, possibly might even look at getting a few more koi into the pond to create more of a shoal and see if you can get them feeding better that way. If you've not got a chagoi, karashigoi, anything like that, that is going to be more confident and feeding at the surface, that can have that psychological effect on the others, then yeah, might be worth getting 1 or 2 of them in as well. But yeah, good question. Jason, when breeders select from fry and the few selections after, what do they do with those not making the grade? Probably taking hundreds of thousands per spawn. Yeah, absolutely. Most are just killed, whichever way. They are then a lot actually recycle them into fish food as well, which is, yeah, however you look at that, grim, a bit gory, whatever it is, fishing. That's the truth. It's the reality of what happens. But yeah, I've known farms do that, obviously recycle it into a food and refeed it, because obviously fish is the top protein source in all fish food. So yeah, that's the one where it's at. In the Japanese market, you know, tiny percentages of these spawnings are actually kept. Some, like in Showa, for instance, don't even make it past the tiny little fry stage at the Kuroku culling, you know, where they're looking for the blackfish. Everything that's white gets rejected. So yeah, that is the reality of the industry, to be all honest. If they kept it all like a lot of other countries do, especially, it would really affect the overall quality, and it would obviously consume all of the space, and that's going to have a massive impact on resources for the quality fish to then thrive, and would actually, you know, bring the quality of the Japanese industry down. So it is, in my opinion, a very, very important process in the production of high quality koi. Right, last one for this evening. I think obviously we've got Koi Talk Live coming up very shortly. I just need to give them guys time to get everything sorted. But Chris, when choosing a toe size with good confirmation, what chances are you taking versus size, pattern, skin quality? How stable is confirmation? Yeah, together. I mean, body confirmation is massively. You say stable. Obviously, if you get it right, the body conformation will be fine. With the tosi, however, you can miss, even I miss them now, deformities, because some body deformities just take a little bit more size and time to actually grow out. So, but overall, I mean, your body's going to be typically your most stable part when selecting a tosi. Pattern is probably always going to be your trickiest part. Size, again, it's going to vary batch by batch, breeder by breeder, where you are. But yeah, pattern and skin quality, again, probably more stable if it's got really good quality there, and color stability. That's one thing you really have to learn to read. You can read it, but again, it's not foolproof. As I said earlier with sockeye fish, I've got fish losing color. It's just a natural process with tosi. This is why I constantly say it's a numbers game, because there are percentages that look the most promising in the world. I've had this in Japan with customers' fish in the past, fish that myself and the breeder have looked at and gone, wow, that's really got it. Really looked a safe bet with all the experience and eyes on it, and then next thing it's come out and all the Benny's gone. So it's you imagine, a lot of these tosi are going from 12, 15 cm, 20 cm up to 40, 45 in a 6-month period. It's phenomenal growth. So the qualities really need to be there to handle that growth and everything that ensues from there on in. So yeah, pattern's always going to be the riskiest one. Pattern changes a lot. It's the hardest to get your head around, and they change, they evolve. Again, depending on the variety, a lot can happen. So typically in body conformation, you've got a lot more stability with that. So I hope that, I didn't fully get my head around that question, but I hope that helps. And yeah, there we have it, folks. Yeah, glad to be back with that one. Feeling a bit rusty, to be honest with you, even though we did do one on Friday. It's been a long day. My eyes feel pretty knackered. Got a bit more prep to get done on the 4 a.m. starts. Pretty lively at the minute. It's starting to drag a little bit, especially when it gets to this time of night. But there we go. Just a quick reminder, folks, for those who didn't tune in at the beginning. We have got an event that we're hosting together with Sunnybank Koi, Sakai Grow and Show event, which is really not to be missed, because these fish for 150 quid, Sakai tosi this size and quality is just mind-blowing. So let me just run these videos for you. There's a full video over on our Koi Wholesale YouTube channel that you can watch, and you can purchase tickets on the Sunnybank Koi website. These are just some snippets of the fish that are actually in there. They are delightful. Loads of them Sakai characteristics showing through. Absolutely brilliant. So these are for you to take away, grow in your pond. There is a competition element to it. But to be honest with you, just all in, 150 quid to get your hands on one of these is just insane. And yeah, there's 100 fish, 80 places available to purchase. There's a buffer capacity for anybody near the end if the event does sell out. And yeah, wow, what a chance. Brilliant fish. Well worth a shot, especially if you've not got a Sakai fish in your pond. You really can't beat them. I'm having great fun with them so far this year, and seeing why they live up to their reputation. Sorry about that. So yeah, there we go. I'll catch you all soon. Thank you.